Hey guys, so I was looking for Iceberg type content because I've never done that stuff before. I'm on Iceberg Virgin. um and I found this one. It's really simple. It says it's a work in progress. But this isn't going to be one of those Iceberg videos where I show just a bunch of footage, because I don't want you to feel like you need to sit here and watch the entire video. You can put me on in the background and just continue what you're doing, and just you can hear it, because I'm going to be reading these out and just, you know. So Majora's Mask Iceberg, I think you can hover over these and they'll tell you what they are if you don't know, but I'm pretty confident with my Majora's Mask knowledge, you could say, and lore. So if you don't know how icebergs work, you have the top tier, which is basically common stuff, and then you have the bottom tier, and it keeps the deeper it gets, the more obscure the things are sometimes. But yeah, so like I said, you don't have to sit here and just like, oh wow, that's great, wow, great footage. No, I'm not going to do any footage or music and voiceover. It's just me looking at these, talking about them. So you can put me on in the background, go about your business. You're welcome. So, like I said, the first one is the top tier, the stuff everyone should know. Ben drowned. Well, we've got that creepy little motherfucker right here. So Ben Drown is a story, a creepypasta made by Chidasable back several years ago, and he actually continued the story. It finished up in 2020. You can go to his channel and see the videos on it. It's just not as interesting. You know, it was just Ben Drowned, which was a story about a haunted Majora's Mask cartridge, and Ben would take the form of this inside the game, and he was able to manipulate electronics and this and that. But then the creator is like, oh, now I'm going to add this arc with, you know, the Moon Children, and it's going to be like this cult, and it's just, please. Once you start adding cults into a story, it gets so, no. But Ben Drowned, everyone knows what it is. Death metaphors. So people are saying that Majora's Mask is a metaphor for the stages of grief, and that Link has to come to terms with his own death, even though that would be, you know, impossible since we see him in Twilight Princess, which takes place after Majora's Mask. And when I say we see him in Twilight Princess, the hero Shade, that's the hero of time. He has grown to a full adult, and he died. Natural causes, most likely. But he didn't die in the Lost Woods. He didn't die falling down into Termina. He's not coping with his own death. He never died, because we know for a fact he becomes the hero Shade. Some say it's Navi's death. Well, Navi flew off. So Navi didn't die, but then there's also the fact of her disappearing and him not being able to find her, so he's going through these stages of grief since he lost his companion. But actually, let's just look at this one, because sometimes, I mean, I learned about the stages of grief, but I forget which order. Clocktown is denial. So everyone in Clocktown, they're going about their festive, you know, festivities. Some of them not wanting to accept that the moon is going to crash into them. The Deku Palace is anger. Well, the Deku King, so angry thinking that the monkey did something with his daughter, ends up boiling the monkey out of anger. Snowhead is bargaining. You know, we meet the Gorons over there, and Darmani, who asks us to, you know, bring him back to, you know, heal his spirit, bring him back to life, give him another chance, this and that. Great Bay, depression. Lulu with her eggs, her children being taken away, is suffering. You know, she's just catatonic, just staring out at the ocean or looking down, not wanting to talk or go anywhere. Icona Valley defeating Majora's acceptance. Self-explanatory. So you've met with a terrible fate. That's the first thing you hear from the Happy Mask Salesman. As soon as you come into the clock tower and all that, you know, you'll hear, and you know, you've met with a terrible fate. It's also one of the things in Ben Drowned. But met with a terrible fate is a catchphrase, and people still use it online. You know, if something goes wrong, it's like, oh, you've met with a terrible fate. Elegy of Emptiness. Elegy of Emptiness is a song you learn after beating the king in Icona Canyon, or Icona Kingdom, and it teaches you, it lets you create these statues of each one of your transformation masks, along with this creepy motherfucker right here. For people who don't know, the Link statue. Creepy, just really fucking creepy. Happy Mask Salesman. I don't know what this would be referring to, but maybe how the Happy Mask Salesman is mysterious. So, if you look at, he's right here. If you look at the Happy Mask Salesman, he is kind of loosely based on Miyamoto, and people would wonder, why is Shigeru Miyamoto as the Happy Mask Salesman? Well, it's actually kind of simple. What does the Happy Mask Salesman do? He goes around with masks. He tries to spread happiness and joy. What does Miyamoto do? He's created games like this that spread happiness and joy. I mean, since the first Zelda, how many games have come along trying to imitate what it's done? Ocarina of Time, still one of the most beloved games of all time. These characters, Link, Zelda, Ganondorf, Navi, Midna, Fi, you name it, people love them. So is he not a purveyor of happiness and joy? So he may not be a salesman, he's just creating these characters, but the characters and the stories he's creating are spreading happiness and joy. So in a sense, he is the Happy Mask Salesman. Instead of the Happy Mask Salesman, he's more of the happy video game salesman. So that's why he looks like Miyamoto. All right, so second tier, them. So them, they are the aliens, whatever they're supposed to be. Actually, I think they are actually aliens that come down to Romani Ranch, and you have to help Romani defend the ranch from them. Afterwards, you know, there's two things that can happen. You can succeed, and everything is hunky-dory, and if you fail, well, her cows get taken away, because that's what they're going after, and Romani gets taken away as well. Pretty hard. You know, they can come around from the back, and if you're not paying attention, those sneaky bastards can right up to that barn, and you're gonna lose. So, but them being the aliens. Deku Butler's son. So in the beginning of the game, you're going through and you come across, before you get into the clock tower, you come across this small, gnarled looking Deku scrub. You're like, okay, what is this? And soon you go to Deku Palace, you beat the temple, and the butler's like, yeah, you know, come see me in the, you know, side of the palace. And he'll challenge you to a race. If you keep up with him, and it's easier to do with the bunny hood, he'll say, oh, yeah, it's, you know, it's been a while, and, you know, racing with you is reminding me of my son who left home And when I was racing you, it felt like I was racing him. Well, it's like, huh, Deku Butler has a son who left home. He hasn't seen him. And then it's confirmed at the end of the game, and I've said this before in another video, everyone else is festive. But then we see the Deku Butler mourning over the death of his son. He's kneeled over at that same little Deku scrub that we met in the very beginning of the game, mourning the death of his son. Truly, he is the only person in the end of the game who doesn't get a happy ending. I mean, he gets to know what happens to his son, so I guess it's some closure, but his son is dead. So everyone else is enjoying the carnival of time and Anju and Cafe's wedding, and the Deku Butler is mourning. But question mark, question mark, question mark. Paper, please. It's just a hand. It comes out of the toilet and asks you for toilet paper. If you give it to him, you know, it could be a letter. He will give you a piece of heart. Majora the dragon. Now, this is unofficial, so don't think of this as... It's not canon. But Majora is portrayed as this giant dragon-type creature who people from all around come to get its scales because these scales are so powerful they can grant wishes and stuff like that. One day a hero comes along, a warrior who looks very close to Link slash Fierce Deity Link, and he starts playing music, and Majora starts to dance. 3 days, 3 nights, and he dies. And so he takes... the hero, or warrior, takes one of his scales and carves it, or just takes him and carves it into Majora's Mask. It's a really cool manga. You can just kind of like look it up online. But it's well worth the read. It's pretty short, but it's a really cool manga. It's not really a manga, it's more just a short story, really. Trading Post Man. Yeah, during the day, he is a purveyor of fine goods of quality at reasonable prices. At night, though, you find him in the curiosity shop, which is a shady business. They'll accept stolen goods, you name it, they accept it. So this man is living a double life. You know, you see him during the day thinking, oh, he's an upstanding citizen. And then you see him at night and you're like, oh wow, he is into some shady stuff here. Lobotomize Romani. After you fail to save the ranch from them, when you next see Romani, she's in like this catatonic trance. You know, she doesn't remember anything. She's asking who you are and this and that. So basically, that's just what happens if you fail. So, murdering Sakin. Now, this is probably one of the best things you can do in the game. So, Sakin, or Sakon, however you want to pronounce his name, is the very suspicious-looking character. If you played the game but haven't waited long enough, he sits there in part of Clocktown where the slide is, and he stands there just behind the slide. And if you talk to him, he's like, I'm not doing anything suspicious, really. If you wait long enough, the little old lady comes, and he'll run out and grab her bag and start running off with it. You can do one of two things. You can just slash at him with the sword, cutting the bag from his grasp, or I believe it's with an arrow or a bomb, and it will blow him up. Like, it will blow him up. There will be nothing left. No bomb bags, no body. He will be blown apart. And I think it's one of the first times you can actually murder an NPC. And not an evil NPC. He's just a bad, you know, he's just a person making horrible life choices. So you're essentially murdering someone who isn't doing anything majorly evil. Stealing is wrong, yes, but does he really deserve to blow up for it? I don't think so. Alcoholic milk. The Chateau Romani, the prized possession, the prized product of Romani Ranch. It is so delicious, nutritious, and good for you, and so potent that you need to be an adult to drink it. In fact, it has its own bar. It's pretty much centered around it, and you need to have a membership type. It's a membership only, or members only. So it is such a strong alcoholic beverage that you need not only be an adult, but you need proof of membership. So it's really good though, because it gives you infinite magic from the first time you consume it all the way till you reset the cycle. Really helps on the moon when you're fighting Majora, and if you don't have Fierce Deity Link, doesn't matter. As long as you have infinite magic, you're fine. Children in the Moon. I'm thinking this is just referring to the children when you go to the moon. They're all creepy. In the original version on the N64, they have no faces under the mask. But then for some reason, in the 3DS remake, they gave them the face of the Happy Mask salesman. I mean, you can kind of tell that's most likely what it was when you see them, because they've got the same hair, the same head. So it was pretty easy to figure out that most likely they look like the Happy Mask salesman under that. But yeah, I think that's what it's referring to. The children on the moon, they say creepy things, asking you your true face, what is it? Or your friends, are they really friends, and blah, blah, blah. And they look like the Happy Mask salesman. Next here, Cremia loves Anju. Actually, I have no freaking clue with this one. Let's take a look. Anju's mother is convinced that Cafe has abandoned her daughter to run away with Cremia. When talking to Cremia about the two, though, she shows much more concern for Anju and does not even refer to Cafe by name. Okay. Okay. The moon always had a face. Yes. The theory is that the moon in Termina has always had a face. No one remarks about, oh my god, the moon suddenly has a face now. No, they say that they've never seen the moon make that face before. If you go to the mayor's office, on the back of his chair, he has a moon, and it's got a face on it. So the moon has always apparently had a face. Now, what kind of face it has, it could be just like all the time, but it has always had a face. And that's why the people are so surprised that it's now like, because they've never seen it make that face before. Next one, Majora's Cult. I think this is the one. I don't think it's Ben Drown stuff. I think this is referring to the Stone Tower Temple in Twin Mold's boss room. There are like these pillars and altars and stuff that you can see, and it's got Majora's Mask on it. So there's some kind of cult that prays and reveres Majora's Mask. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. The moon isn't evil. Yeah. Since the moon has always had a face, one can believe that it isn't. It hasn't been evil. It's evil because of Majora's Mask, the power. The moon is being forced to fall, and that's one reason for the moon's tear. It's crying. The moon doesn't want to do it, and it's being forced against its will to come down out of the sky. So the moon normally is just a moon, just like our moon. It's up in the sky, but Majora comes along with, Skull Kid, and it's now forcing it out of its orbit, pulling it down, and the moon obviously knows it's aware it's about to destroy everything that it may care about. You know, it may be happy up there being a moon, looking down on everyone and providing them moonlight at night and the ebb and flow of the oceans and the water and all the other amazing things that the moon does. But so yeah, the moon isn't always evil. It's not evil at all. It's just under the influence of Majora's Mask, and it's being forced against its will. Navi's death. I think that's another thing, like I said, with stages of grief. Navi dies, apparently, they think, but no, she's just, I think she just goes back to the forest, or, you know, she just flies off. Since after we don't see Kokiri Forest afterwards, like it's not some kind of, there's no post game, she could have just, you know, flown off into the forest, which is why he went looking for her, because I don't think the fairies would do very well outside the forest. She was fine with him because he was a companion, but the fairies, like them, I think they're meant to stay in the forest and be companions for the Kokiri. So, but let's see if that was right. Theory building off the death metaphor. Yeah, okay. The Negeron. Okay, so the Negeron are these guys right here. They look like the Gorons, but they're not. They're completely explosive. You come in contact, you're going to blow the hell up. I don't remember if it was like an off-species, but I think if I remember, they evolved to look like Gorons. But this is all they are. It's like a Goron body with no head. Like their eyes are kind of like where their chest would be, and they're always like hunched over. And they're guised as Gorons, most likely because they want things to blow up. So you see a Goron, you're like, oh my god, a Goron! They're so nice and sweet and friendly. And you go over to it, and suddenly this thing shows itself to what it really is, and you blow the fuck up. So, and I think they only appear in one part of the game on the way to Icon Canyon. I think that's like the only place they show up in the game, which is weird. They go through the trouble of making these things, and they're so weird, but they only show up in one area. All right, next, intense psychological trauma. So, actually, here's the picture correlating with it. When you put on the mask for the first time, you see Link as if he's in pain. So the theory is that when he's putting on the mask, he's experiencing all the emotions, essentially the life of that person, from the moment they were born to the moment of their death. So when he puts on Mikau's mask, you know, the Zora mask, he's experiencing Mikau's entire life. When he puts on Darmani's, he's experiencing everything from, you know, his birth to his death. When he puts on the Deku mask, he's experiencing that young Sprout's birth to the moment where his soul was snatched and stolen by Majora's Mask. The Fierce Deity mask, which shouldn't be that troublesome because it's said, oh yeah, the Fierce Deity's mask contains all the hopes and of people, everyone in Termina. But I guess it kind of like draws on their life experiences, so you might be experiencing the entirety of Termina, their lives, their lives all at once. So you're feeling all of Anju's emotions and life, Cafe, the mayor, the carpenters. You know, you're feeling all of it at one time, hence why it's so damn powerful. So, yeah, that's pretty much what it means. It just means that when he's putting, he looks like he's going through pain, almost like a PTSD kind of thing, where he's experiencing all of this entire life in just like a split second of, you know, whoever's mask he's putting on. The Happy Mask Salesman is dead. I mean, people say because he can just like teleport and disappear at will, people think he's dead. At the end of the game, he just like vanishes. But he's proven to be some kind of other worldly type figure. I mean, he has all these masks from different games. I wouldn't be surprised if the Happy Mask Salesman was capable of traveling to different dimensions where those games exist, where, you know, living, breathing people in that world. Like, he has a Falco mask, he has a Mario mask. I think he's got like an Elvis mask, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's not strong, like he's not a god, but he just has the ability to travel dimensions and different realities and stuff like that. So he's not dead, he's just very, very special when it comes to traveling. Stone Tower Blasphemy. So when you get into Stone Tower, there's a big old like statue type thing, and it's got, you know, fingers. It's like, and one the fingers are like lit, and they're pointing upwards. So basically, it's a friendly version of saying "fuck you" to the gods. There's the blocks that move around, and underneath these blocks is a Triforce, but there's the on the block there's like this creature, and he's naked, and he has his tongue out and he's licking the Triforce as to say fuck you. So Stone Tower is essentially based on the Tower of Babel. You know, trying to build Tower to the Heavens. God was like, huh, screw that shit, zap. And he made it to where everyone spoke a different language so that the tower could never be built because no one can communicate with each other. The Stone Tower is the same thing. It's very, very tall. And it was to slight the gods, the goddesses. Termina obviously knows about the Triforce and knows about the goddesses. And people think it's, well, they revere the giants. You know, they see the giants as their deities instead of the three goddesses. But yeah, that the statue is like, and it's like licking the Triforce, and it's between its legs, and so it's basically a fuck you. Happy Mask Salesman is Link's counterpart. Would he be Link's counterpart? Because I think he did originate in Hyrule. He may have the power to go through dimensions and realities, but I think he originated in Hyrule. So for him to be Link's counterpart, he would have to be of Termina. Like everyone else has their Hyrule counterpart, and then there's the Termina counterpart. But I think he started in Hyrule. Well, then again, we don't see him when we first get there, do we? When we first get there, the shop is empty. He's not there. And it's like a coming soon kind of thing. And then after a bit we visit and there he is. So it's possible he just needed time to set up the shop, or he was traveling from another area. Let's see if that's despite being an admittedly sinister seeming character, the Happy Mask Salesman greatly assists Link more than once, freeing Link from his curse, teaching him the song of healing, and offering him support. Yep, words of wisdom and positive words. It is also implied that he is the one to reset the cycle if Link does not play the Song of Time before the moon falls. Where's the counterpart come in? Whatever. So, the Twilight made the mask. So, this also goes with Twilight Princess. So when you look at Midna's mask, the mask of Twilight, it's the eye on it is very similar to Majora's Mask. They said that the people who created Majora's Mask were very powerful magically. The people who created the mask and the Twilight mask, very powerful magically. The tribe in Majora's Mask disappeared. You have a powerful tribe that disappeared that was sent to the Twilight Realm. But people are saying that the same people, the Twilight made Majora's Mask, that they're also the people who made Majora's Mask, hence the similarities between the eye and this and that. Um, so there's that. Rivalry of the Gods, probably having to do with Stone Tower, with the whole blasphemy thing. Uh, the whoever built the Stone Tower obviously revered not only Majora in some case, but most likely the giants. They didn't accept the goddesses as their true deities, even though the goddesses are the ones who created everything. But they don't see it that way. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of subtle sexism there going on. It's like, oh, goddesses? We're not going to pray to goddesses. We're going to pray to the 4 male giants. But I'm pretty sure it goes along with the Stone Tower blasphemy. Tingle is Link's counterpart. Now, this one is more of a counterpart because we don't see Tingle anywhere else, well, until after Majora's Mask. So you have Link, who is in green. He is a fairy boy. Like, that's what they refer to as a fairy boy. He has a fairy as a companion. Then you have Tingle in Termina, who is dressed in green, who pretends that he's a fairy boy, who wishes he had a fairy companion. So they're trying to say, you know, everyone else in Termina is like the counterpart of someone in Hyrule. Where's Link's? Some are saying that Tingle is Link's counterpart because of the dressing in green and the fairies. And Tingle is the dimensional refugee. So after Majora's Mask, we see Tingle in a few places. We see him in Wind Waker. We see him in his own games, Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land. I think he's got like three games, I think. But we see him outside of Hyrule, or outside of Termina. So people are thinking something happens in Termina to where he flees, becomes a refugee. So is that pretty much the gist of it? Tingle was originally native to Termina, but all of his other appearances are in Hyrule, assuming they aren't counterparts of one another like everyone else in Termina/Hyrule. Tingle escaped Termina and is now at large. They're making him seem like he's a criminal. I think just something happened to where he had to flee. Possibly another incident. Every 3-day cycle is personalized. This is most likely going off the whole meme of the Mario 64. Every copy of Mario 64 is personalized, where it says that, oh yeah, there's this AI that detects your play style and your desires, and they'll base the game, you know, around that. I'm guessing it's the same thing. Obligatory meme entry. Although certain items and plot developments are retained in the player, if the player restarts that cycle themselves. Yeah, it is just, so it's a meme. But yeah, that is the Majora's Mask Iceberg. Now, you can click on this and go to a bunch of the other ones. Like, we have all these. It's a lot. It is a lot of, like, here's Ocarina of Time. We might do this one. See, there's a lot more on this one. But I wanted to do this one, the Majora's Mask one, because you may be new to something like this, and I didn't want it to be an hour and 40 minutes long. So I just picked something simple, and it's a work in progress, so we can always come back to it. Now that we've answered most of them here, whatever they add, it's like we won't have to go through all of it again. I would just link, say, hey, just watch this last video if you missed it. But I think I did. There's only a few like the Cremia Losanju. I didn't know that one. The Link Salesman is Link's counterpart. I mean, it's like, what? I think, yeah, that's pretty much the only ones that I didn't really know. Like I said, I was pretty confident with my Majora's Mask knowledge. So, yeah, I wanted to keep it simple. I didn't want to do a bunch of fancy graphics and music and this and that, just because I know a lot of you just don't want to sit here and watch. So I want you guys to be able to continue doing what you're doing. So you just crank me up in the background. But if you want to see me do more, let me know. And if not, well, I'm used to one-off videos, so I'm not gonna cry a river over it. So, anyways, let me know what you guys think about this type of content. And yeah, that's gonna do it for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.